All right, welcome back. It's still Galaxy. Today we just try to talk to you as how to manage your colleagues, your boss, your supervisors at the office. But you will agree with me that we also need to manage relationships at home, be as parents, fathers, wives, siblings, and brothers and sisters, and
cousins.
Cousins,
Nephews,
great grandfathers.
nieces.
Don't mind me. But the thing is that lately a whole lot of relationships are becoming all right. We have gender-based violence at the home front, and of course divorces and separations. What do we do about this ugly trend? How do we ensure better relationships at our homes? And we have someone with us here in the studio.
Oh yes, and it's so good to know that we'll be looking at resolving conflict at home by or with Abiola Salami, life executive and business coach. Good morning and welcome to Galaxy.
Good morning, Uche.
Good to have you. I'm good.
Thank you. Thank you, and good morning, Justus.
Okay.
Yeah, ladies first, I get
Okay. I'm quite inquisitive with the name, your middle name, Champ.
Champ, yes.
Is it an AKA or was it something you're christened with?
Okay, so Christian with that something that my parents would have given to me,
Okay.
but it's not my parent that gave it to me.
Okay.
It's something I discovered that my essence, is living and rocking every day like a champion,
Exactly.
and working with people as well to rock their world like champions. And there's been a commitment to this from the 1st of December 2012.
Wow.
Doing this all the way.
Okay, I'd like us to start with that now. Was
Okay.
there a conflict about that? Because I know parents are particular about names. They don't
Okay.
want you changing or mispronouncing or misspelling the names. Like, when you came about this thing, was there any conflict about you putting Champ in between your name or probably removing a name to have Champ?
Okay, so I don't have any ID that has Champ on it. Let us start that way. I don't have any ID that has Champ on it, but in conversations and all the branding that we do, there's the Champ on it. And there was no conflict, in bringing Champ to bear, because I'm grateful for the kind of parent that I have. Unfortunately, just one now is alive. The other one passed some years ago, and it's about parents giving their children that opportunity, not just to pursue what it is in their own mind for the child to do. Many people, you want your child to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer. These days, a footballer, a programmer,
A musician.
a musician. It's about allowing the child to grow and to understand what he is uniquely or she is uniquely created to do, and help the child to grow within that. In fact, child growth, education should start with discovery of purpose, not purpose after education. And so you're educated along what you're supposed
purpose.
to do. That you grow. So there was no conflict with that. But there are other conflict areas generally in the world, that we've seen, and I thought that's what we'll be discussing.
Okay,
today.
yes. Let's just kick it off with what Ndi Steven says on Facebook. Ndi Steven, I'm thinking is a guy. Okay, he says there is what we call irreparable differences in relationship. Just move out before someone gets killed. Let's start from there. Now, Abiola.
Abiola, you meant to say.
Okay.
I threw the A away. Abiola. Abiola, the thing is irreparable differences at the home front. How can a difference or an issue or squabble at the home front become so tough or so extreme that it cannot be reconciled? I don't get it.
Okay, fantastic. You see, when it comes to conflict resolution, whether in the workplace or at home or wherever, I've identified two kinds of people. Now, those two kinds of people are not the guilty and the innocent. We always like that conversation that you offended me, guilty and innocent. Not the offender and the offended, not the offender and the offended. I think they are responders and reactors.
Okay.
And so it is about, and for you to be a responder, it's about the willful commitment to ensuring that there is peace at the end of any conflict. For the reactor is the troublemaker. That, in fact, when there is no issue, the person wants to bring an issue. And when there's an issue, the person just wants it to prolong and prolong so that it can have many things to blame the other party. And so, in having irreparable differences, if the two people that claim to have irreparable differences, if the two of them are responders, then there is a potential of success. But if at least one of them is not, then just be on the other side. So what if you're a responder? What's the first thing to do? Is to identify the source of conflict. When you say irreparable differences, it's just something it's just a word. It's just an expression that people use to excuse not willing to work on a relationship. Every relationship requires work.
Work.
And since we are bringing it to marriage now, you see, the wedding is the ceremony, the marriage is the work. The wedding is the ceremony, so everybody does. I mean, for example, in Lagos, you know, we marry, we do a shoebi, you know, you plan for it, you have a big ball. You know, the wedding is a ceremony, everybody's happy. The marriage is the work. You can plan your wedding in 6 months. You can plan a successful wedding in 6 months, even in a few weeks. But you need to work on a successful marriage for a long time, for a lifetime. You know, and so irreparable differences is when people are unwilling, and please mark the word willingness.
Okay.
When people are unwilling to do the work that it requires to build a peaceful union.
Okay, but in a case where they say it takes two to tango, I mean, one is ready to make it work, and the other is like, I've got into that bridge. What do you suggest? There is no case of violence, there's no abuse or whatsoever. Now, I don't want to go the Christian way because people say just pray, let their hearts change. But in a case where it looks like one is making all the effort in the world and the other seems like a desic about it, what would you suggest?
Okay. Everybody, we have a threshold.
Yes,
Every individual, we have a threshold. We have how much we can push and we become weak. And so it may not be the same for for the two people. You know, someone may be able to stay longer than the other person. And so my recommendation is, if you are the one that can stay longer, you know, still continue, persuade, do what you can do within your power, but know that you are not God. You know, it's important to know that you are not God. That the most difficult thing to want to work on is the will of another person. You know, that's witchcraft. So want to control the will of another person. You can influence the will of another person.
Yeah.
You can persuade the other person, but what you don't want to do, or what you can't do, is to force the other person to see things your way. And so if the other party is saying, you know what, I'm out, you know, just still persuade as much as you can. And when you're tired, don't beat yourself, don't kill yourself, you know. There's a lot to achieve in life, you know. There's so much to achieve in life. I don't think you failed, you know, it's just give it another trial.
Okay, I'm bringing another scenario here, babe. A place where there are some homes who still practice the male and female gender thing. I don't know why I'm talking about gender this morning anyway.
Tell us.
I mean, so where it is, okay, let me, okay, like a thing happened many years ago. I went to see a friend, and then the girl was complaining that each time she goes to see her fiance then, that she does whatever the cooking and whatever, and then the younger brother, all he does is probably eat and leaves the dishes for her to clear, and she was having issues with it. And I was like, you should talk to him. And eventually she said she spoke to him, and all he said, well, from their upbringing, it is the woman that does the chores, and then the man is to go out and sort. But according to her fiance then, now they're married, isn't that way. Okay, so someone from that kind of background who believes that the woman has a particular thing to do in the house and the man is, and we're in a society where the man is working, the woman too is working, so some things are lagging at home, except if she learns to balance it well. In a situation like that, how do you manage crisis, especially when it has to do with orientation, saying that this is the kind of background he has and this is the kind of background she has? What do you strike that couple?
A reasonable balance? You see, what I've found is that people have unrealistic expectation. You talk about orientation, right? People have unrealistic expectations. So a particular lady or a particular gentleman has grown up in a particular way. And because of the conversations that we're having now in the society, gender equality, that some people are explaining differently to suit their own purpose, you know, and so it's important to clarify your expectations even before you got into the union, to really understand and know this is what this person is about. As much as we are clamoring for gender equality, and I'm a champion with that. I mean, there's a group that I oversee. It's the Exceptional Women Network, and I'm a champion of that. As much as that is what we're looking at, it is important to also know that we cannot work based on one size fits all. One size does not fit all.
Yeah.
And when you listen to people on TV, as you're watching me now, you know, or you listen on radio, when you listen to people, you know, rendering passionate, fiery delivery on how things should be, it does not always work in every union. It does not always work in every situation. So what you want to do is understand that your union is peculiar. Not whatever anybody has said. Understand, how is my husband? How was he raised? How am I raised? I mean, you have some ladies that were raised to understand that this is how men and women should be, but because of new age knowledge, they decide to walk contrary to that. Now, if your union allows for that, if you and your husband can agree, and that's where the issue is. If you agree that this is how we want to run, then run that way. If you don't agree that's how you want to run, then look for the way that works for you. There is nothing anybody can say about gender equality that you should take into your home and start to practice. As a matter of fact, based on what I do, I mean, I coach professionals, coach women, I realize that some people even get to use platforms to lie to other people, thereby causing problems in their families. Case in point, I was speaking at a big forum some time ago, and there's another lady that was speaking at that forum, and she lectured us on how she runs her family, how her husband, she doesn't always have time, to cook for her husband, how she doesn't do house chores and all of that, how her husband is supportive in doing that, and when she's tired and she cannot do, she will not do. And everybody was clapping that, wow, what a great, family, what a great man that understands, what a great woman that understands. Then somebody related to the woman, after then, said something to me that the woman just lied. That is not what happens. That because when she goes there, and the person is related to the woman on the woman's side, not on the husband's side. Okay. That because when she goes to their house, that what she said on stage is completely different from what she does.
Why put up a front?
And so I begin to be afraid. I begin to nurture that fear. So it means that there are people who maximize media platforms to share things with other people that will not work, that is completely different from what they practice. The same lady, the gentleman that was related, that was telling me, they said that this woman kneels down for her husband. I thought that is shocking. Now, I'm not expecting my wife to kneel down for me. I'm not saying women should kneel down for. But what I'm saying is that there's a practice this person is doing in the corner of her house that is making her marriage work for her. And the person comes to the forefront and says another thing so that it will match with the narrative out there. That is why we need to be careful who we listen to.
And understand how our own relationships work. So you need to understand how the peculiarity of your relationship. You need to understand this is who your man is, this is who your wife is. And based on that understanding, that brings me to the first point in resolving conflict, which is identify. Identification. The reason conflict becomes protracted, or what was that phrase again? Irreparable differences is because you have decided not to identify that difference. Identify, be conscious of it, know it. I say that the more I know you, the better I can love you.
Exactly.
The more I know you, the better I can serve you. So the first thing is to know, to identify, to understand the other person. The man should understand the woman should understand the man. Let us take it to the workplace. The leader should understand the team members should understand the team members. Should understand the leader. So it is that point of identification, which is understanding the other person. That is the beginning of having a peaceful relationship. That is the key to solving any conflict when it comes. And please, again, I just want to stress that let us be careful. Our mentors, the people that will claim to be our mentors, the people that we look up to. You need to know them not just by the media, not just what you see on TV, or what you hear on radio, or what they say to you publicly. You need to know them personally. So that you are sure that it is what they are saying to you that they are practicing. Because I have discovered that
they
it is not so
what
always.
They do. Okay, before we look at the next step, something just came to me now. Over time, we hear for the workplace, they do retreats for workers so they can better understand themselves. At what point can a couple or marriage decide to go for some sort of a couple retreat so they can actually get to know themselves better, the sort of relieve their courting days, maybe time, space, work, must have taken all of that away from them. How do they begin to do some sort of a refresher course on their relationship?
On their relationship. Since you talk about workplace, let me start from that.
Okay.
Based on what we do in my organization, Champ City, we do team bonding for organizations, retreats, just to bring them together. You know, in fact, we're having some very soon. That works in organizations. And we always stress when we work for organizations like that, that this team bonding thing, this unity that we're fostering, it is not an event that has to occur once a year, once a quarter. It is not an event. It's actually an ongoing practice within the organization. So we don't want, not just that we want to come and make money from you. So you call us, we do a lot of exercises, everybody feels happy and good, and then you go back to behaving in a different way. It is an ongoing thing, and so we do consistent monitoring. For the couple, bonding, learning about each other is an ongoing thing. Going for a retreat is one of the things to be done. In fact, you don't want to pack issues till there is an opportunity to deal with the issues. Issues are meant to be dealt with as they happen. Remember I said that it is about the willingness to commit to having a peaceful resolution on anything. So you realize that at times some little foxes spoil the vine. Something very little happens and it becomes protracted and it blows up everything. So from the little things, you know, resolve it. Little things before it becomes malignant and it grows beyond what you can handle. Handle it. Manage it. Manage it one after the other. It is good to go for a retreat. It's good to seek intervention.
Yes.
But when you are seeking intervention, make sure you are seeking intervention from professionals, you know, not from people who have interests. And let me dwell on that a little bit. Let me dwell on that a little bit. So husband and wife, for example, there's a conflict. The moment one of the parties goes to his or her friend or his or her relatives to have a conversation, and remember, when you are reporting a conflict, hardly will you say where you are guilty. You know, you won't mention where you are guilty. You will share whatever has happened to let the person sympathize with you and empathize with you, how you are right and the other person is wrong. And once you do that, you've created a political party and you start to get some interests, you know. So some people will be pointing fingers at the other person, such that the conflict you think you want to resolve, rather than resolving it, it becomes protracted. You know, so not engaging family and friends who they have interest. They want to protect you. You know, they want to be sure nobody hurts you, which is natural and fine to do. But what you want to do is to seek intervention from those that you know that they have no ties like that. Very important.
Okay, but then I also like us to look at the aspect of submission. I mean, when it comes to marriage, a whole lot of mentality. I think I share a bit of that opinion where no matter how, I don't believe you argue to the point where it becomes heat up. At that point, I feel you're no longer arguing. You both are trying to be heard or trying to be right. But I feel in the heat of things, when there's a little crisis or here, I just want to be sure if the opinion is right, where the woman goes on that. At that point, you're expected to calm down for him, knowing that man has ego. And then I also believe that the ego is supposed to be massaged positively because it can be used positively. So instead of you bruising his ego, because what you say is actually what, in one way or the other, affects his esteem. So in the place of crisis, is it right for the woman to calm down and allow the man, just for the sake of peace, and calming down, not just calming down, to bottle up that, okay, when
One
this
day,
heat is over, I'm so going to, you know. So my school of thought is calming down, either to totally forget the issue and just let it go. I always believe if there's a need for that issue to be revisited, it will come and it will, you would see. And I've also been told over the years that you don't come back when he now eventually sees your point and says, Shebi, I told you, and you do not want to listen. Now, in a situation like that, is it properly, professionally now, scripturally, Quranic and every way, right, for the woman to calm down and allow the man, I mean, being that he's the head of the home, no matter how gender equality will prevail.
Okay, so I'll try to strike a balance with this conversation. You know, I know we're concentrating on family, but workplace is coming in this conversation. You see, the way to manage conflict in the workplace is different from the way to manage conflict in the home. In the home, because of one word: sentiment. You know, in the home, there's a lot of sentiment. You know, in the workplace, you're professional. There's sentiment too, but it's not as pronounced as it is in the home. And because of sentiments, many people get into the relationship with many conclusions in mind. For example, you talk about submission. There are people whose understanding of submission is subjugation, which is suppress the woman, you know, and she should just be seen, not heard. So there are men who have that thought, and they relate based on that. There are women who have that thought, and they've decided to fight it, even in their union. And really, the last place you want to fight anything, any notion, is in your union, because what you want is peace, you know, in that place. So it is important to know that when there's a heated argument, the two people should not be talking. You know, nobody is listening to the other.
Yes.
Based on the physiological and psychological makeup of men and women, it is important for the woman to
calm down.
Calm down.
Okay.
You know why? Because she can say things she did not even think of, she doesn't even mean. She may say it to express herself, and that may cause irreparable
differences.
You know, not differences this time, damages this time. Because you talk about ego. You know, as bad as we are, you know, we're high flyers, you know, we got it going on, that we're good. The things our wife says to us, they matter. You know, it matters at times if you have a good day or a bad day, you know. And so it is important to just calm down, not because you are weak. It's just because you have power, but your power is under control.
That's a good one. All right, let's just take this one before we continue. We have barely 5 minutes to wrap up on the show. This from Ndi Stephen. He is commenting on if he thinks divorce and separation is the best way to resolve conflict at home. He says, divorce separation is best when several steps had been taken to resolve conflict at home. Some cases have called attention of families, elders in church, mosque, neighbors and friends, but no way out of the persistent conflict, mostly coming from, well, his bias, he said women. There are many cases of such I've witnessed. Every woman should say no to beatings, domestic violence by their partners. If they can't be submissive and reasonable, they should opt for divorce. That's his opinion. Well said, Abiola. But right now, let's look at another angle. Aside from just the husband and the wife, who are the major parties here, sometimes extended family members come in, and they are sometimes the cause of this problem. How do you begin to resolve this without trying to offend maybe your brother or your mother or your sister?
In-laws.
Yeah.
Good. It is an agreement between two people. We agree that when there is any conflict, we resolve it.
Yes.
When we have any issue, we resolve it. When it seems that this issue is so big that we can't resolve it, we agree. Please, I'm using the words we, and we. We agree that, okay, how do we resolve this? Because our love for each other is supposed to be stronger than our need for each other. Our love for each other is supposed to be stronger than our need for each other. In fact, the basis of that union, right, is because it's an affection two people share. And that affection could now turn to be something negative if it is not well managed. So what we want to do is, what the husband and the wife, you know, want to do is to ensure that they protect their union, they shield their union from the interference of those who have interests. You know, I talked about those who have interests the other time, the in-laws, you know, so to shield that. You know, and let me share this, although I didn't tell them, but let me share this. I have siblings that I respect so much, you know, and one of them, the other day, there was some rancor between husband and wife. And of course, I noticed there was something. I asked, and she didn't tell me anything. It was months later or years later, I said, you know, that thing happened and this is the issue. I said, so why didn't you tell me? Don't you trust me? He said, that's the problem. He said, I trust you, that's why I didn't tell you. But because, I don't know, you may, because of your interest. Note, I'm a professional at doing this. But this is now my family member, which there is the tendency that I may not be as rational as I was supposed to be, and I may cause more trouble. And so she said to me, and there was another time it was mine, you know, and she said, well, she noticed there was something, but the reason she didn't say a word is because she knows that once she comes in to say anything, it could mess up the whole thing. And note this, in a union, when you're external to a union, you don't know what actually happened that led to the conflict. And so it's not just what they said to you. People always keep things back. They don't say everything. You know, it's only the people in the union that they know everything that happened. When they are reporting to you, they don't know everything. So when you think that you can now wield your solution, you know, for what the person has already told you. I mean, in my work, for example, even when you're third party and you're not related to them, they don't tell you everything. It is by finding out and asking more questions that I realize that the issue is actually deeper than what they're sharing with you.
Before we go, I'd just like us to look at that, maybe in a few seconds, submissiveness. I mean, a whole lot of women do not understand what submission. Most actually, a whole lot feel like it's just about me taking care of the home, doing my chores, and I only submit when it is convenient. I mean, they still do not understand. So if you can just shed light on that for the sake of those watching. Okay.
So it is not only women that don't understand submission. Men too.
Men too.
So some men think that submission is subdue, you know. Subdue, and she should only be seen, not heard. And some women think that is it too. And because they think that is it, they say no man in this world will do that to me. So they will fight. So this is my own understanding of submission. My understanding of submission is see the family like a boat, like a ship on the sea. A boat on the sea, a ship on the sea has a sailor, has assistant sailor, or perhaps the one we know more. Let's use the plane, the aeroplane that we're more familiar with. There is a pilot.
And a co-pilot.
There is a co-pilot. When you're in the plane, the person that talks to you, you know, that says, oh, you're welcome on board, you know, after those other people that will tell you the safety measures, you know, the pilot talks to you. You know, that is the pilot. The pilot has a co-pilot. Submission is that you're a co-pilot. You're not the pilot, you're a co-pilot. At several points in time, you could be the pilot for one reason or the other, but you're not the pilot. Submission is that you have power, but your power is under control. Now, by control doesn't mean just pushing here and there. It's leadership. And when more men understand the concept of leadership, all right, and not being a boss, they will understand what submission is. When more women understand the concept of leadership, they will be willing to allow themselves to be influenced by that leadership. Even culturally, socially, I mean, men are seen as being the head, and by head doesn't mean that you are a bully. It doesn't mean that you're that you turn the woman to a punching bag. It only means that you are responsible for her and you are responsible to her. So submission is not being subdued. Submission is you have power, but you're willing.
All right, well said. We just have to rest it at this point. Thank you, Abiola Salami, for all those inroads that you have given us to managing relationships at home. We do appreciate it. I want to say thank you to our earlier guest who joined us. But Abiola Salami is a life executive and business coach.
Yes, and of course, many thanks once again to Professor Ademola Adewale Justus, a motivational teacher and coach. I'm sure it's time to go, Justin. So we'll do this same time tomorrow. I can't wait because it's going to be entertainment. I'm Uche.